So welcome everybody to tonight's episode of Heal with the Real. I do Heal with the Real podcast because I want to show that there is life after domestic abuse and we can become thrivers and move through the trauma that it can cause us and move to become a survivor in life. And my amazing guest tonight is Laura Riley from Mums in Need, aka Min. Is that right? Do you want to just introduce yourself and just say a little bit about Mums in Need?
Yeah, hi Amanda, hi everyone. Yeah, so my name is Laura, as Amanda said, and I'm the founder of Mums in Need, and now I'm also the CEO of Mums in Need. Do you want me to just expand on that a little bit, Amanda?
No, that's fine. So
Yeah,
yeah, we'll go back to why you set up Mums in Need and why you found it important to set up the Mums in Need program and or organization, even, should I say. Yeah, over to you. Just if you want to explain a little bit about, we can touch a little bit about on your past, so the listeners can understand, what brought you to setting up Mums in Need.
yeah, okay. So in 2007, I had a baby with somebody, a man who mentally and financially abused me, and I literally had nowhere to turn. There wasn't any physical um, bruising or anything, and so I didn't really know what was happening to me, but I felt very alone and very afraid. And there didn't appear to be anybody that understood what I was going through. So that's that's what led me to set up Mums in Need, because what I found at the time, because obviously this is going back a few years now, is that there was quite a lot of support for sort of women in physically abusive relationships where you could get advice and they could put you in safe housing and places like that, but there wasn't any support for um, sort of women in my situation, because I left the relationship after I had my son, and then that's when I realized, oh gosh, I've got a son. I'm having to battle with this man, and I don't know where to turn. And so, because there wasn't any support services available, I eventually set up what is now Mums in Need.
Okay. And it's right what you said when a while ago. I know things have changed so much now, but back in that time, and I remember because, myself, it was a very coercive, and sometimes that um kind of relationship that's not physical is actually, for me, feels worse. And I guess sometimes it is that harder to understand that type of relationship. And even now, looking back, for me personally, in 2020, I didn't even know what narcissism was, or coercive control, or what red flags in relationships are. So I think it is really important to understand that it isn't just physical abuse, it is mental abuse as well. And I think even though you can't see the scars, often that's worse. I don't know what your opinion is of that.
I 100% totally agree with that. I think, if you have got if that if you have been in a relationship where there are physical signs, kind of, at least in that way you do have some form of evidence. Whereas when you've got, in a coercive control relationship, and particularly after you've left that relationship and you're having to fight and support look after your child, because that relationship, physical relationship between you and the abuser, because you're no longer together, it's deemed that, well, there is no more abuse, that is finished and done because you've left the relationship. But of course, if you've got a child with somebody like that, then there is no end point.
Yeah. And that really brings back a lot of memories for me personally, having to take my son to the abuser and then pick him up, and that just difficulty all the time of not knowing what it was going to be like, or what you were going to be confronted with when you got there. And it was just that fear all the time of the unknown of what may happen. You just don't know, do you? And I think that's the worst time, because it can go on for a long time after you've left that abusive relationship. I think then it continues for a long time afterwards, and sometimes it's torture.
It really is, Amanda. Like, you're talking about that, and you're in those situations, and it's so unpredictable. You don't know what they're going to do. You go to collect your child, they might not turn up, or have you running around for ages, and you're in an absolute state, because you've obviously want your child back, and they might switch their phone off or not meet you, or just keep hold of them for days and days, and leave you in a complete anxious state. So absolutely, it's those years, particularly when the children are young, is really difficult, because not only are you trying to manage your own emotions, you're trying to make it okay for the sake of the children.
Yeah.
And that's really difficult, because you may be upset, you may be crying, and you're trying to not show that in front of your child so that they don't become fearful. It's very hard situation to be in.
So you found yourself in the courts, and then I believe because of your situation within the courts, you knew that there had to be something that needed to change for mums that, that may be fighting battles in court to get their child back, or, get parental control of the child, because that they're in danger. So tell me a little bit about that, why you became so passionate.
I think, it all kind of links into why I set up the charity, really. I mean, I think it's just that feeling of being alone, but alone dealing with all of the abuse that you're getting, and then to, on top of that, having to deal with the family court system, which is really does not feel like a very safe place to be in. And quite often the going through the family courts can amplify the abuse that's already happening. So you're trying to keep your children safe, and then the court will quite often they will put orders in place to make sure that the contact continues, even though that is not a very safe option for the child's mental health, particularly the child's mental health. But it happens anyway. So I think that for me, because I went through the family courts for the best part of 6 years on and off, and I'll just sort of talk you just briefly about sort of how it started. When the relationship ended a year after my son was born, we started a contact arrangement. So at the time I was working as a mental health nurse, and I was working 3 days a week and had 4 days off. So on those 3 days that I was working, he had him, and then on the 4 days that I wasn't working, I would have him. But then really quickly, within a matter of weeks after we'd set up this arrangement, he started to become really unreliable. And when I'd go to pick him up, he wouldn't be there. He'd drop him off at somebody else's house, make all these excuses, leave messages on my phone. Then I would try to phone back to find out it was, and then he'd switch the phone off. All this kind of game playing. I'm just trying to go back to the original thing. I've got these things in my head now. So I think that, yeah, it was just a really difficult time. And because things got really difficult between us at the early stages of the sort of separation, he became quite hostile, quite aggressive, really quite threatening. And on one occasion, he actually threatened. He felt, I don't want to sort of swear on it, because this is going on to a public forum, but he actually phoned up my father and said, if you don't get your effing daughter to comply, I'm going to go around there and set fire to her house. And so I was absolutely terrified at that point, and I went to the police. Nothing was sort of done about it, but I did record it with the police. And a week later, I got I think it might have even been less than a week actually. Within a matter of days, I got a letter from a mediation firm saying, will you have mediation with your ex-partner? And I was like, no, how could I possibly have mediation with somebody who's threatened to burn my house down? And at the time I was living with, my toddler and my mum. So I was not prepared to do that. And of course, what happened from that point on, that's when he applied for court proceedings, because I had sort of at that point refused to hand my son over because he was being aggressive and intimidating and bullying, and I was not prepared to let my child go into that environment. He was very,
Right.
very young, and so that's how the family courts started.
Okay. And I know, a couple of people that have been fighting through the family courts, and it's just cost them lots and lots of money. How
Yeah.
do, because I think that is a thing, isn't it, that people are worried about, that, with all this cost that it's going to cost them. One lady's had to put up her house because of all the court costs, just to get her son safe or a child safe, and it's terrible that not only are you going through this scary time of trying to get away from this abuser and all the mental torture, and you've got this hefty bill because you're trying to fight through the courts.
Yeah, it's an absolute nightmare. It's really, really difficult. I mean, back when I was going through it, there was, a lot more legal aid available. Of course, that's pretty much abolished now, as it's really, really difficult to get that. So, and like what you were saying about the money side of it, we had, somebody that we were supporting, supported in the past. I think rack up a fee of something like 85 grand. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like you say, people can lose their house, people can lose, it shouldn't be allowed. It shouldn't
Mhm.
be happening. So at Mums in Need, we do try really hard to give the mums the tools that they can actually go to the courts themselves without needing to have representation, without going through solicitors. But and it may be that a mum has legal representation, but obviously if you're in the court for a number of years, your money is going to run out. So you might start off paying the costs, and then when you realize that a court's been adjourned, then you've got to go to another hearing, and then you've got a different and every time they send a letter, it costs an absolute fortune. So yeah, so we do have a couple of firms that we work with, and we have created a program recently which is on our website, called the Lived Experience Leadership Project. And what that has been a 21-month project where myself and some of the staff team with lived experience, and the women that have actually been, some of the women that have been through our service, we've all got together, and over this last 20 months have created a bespoke program for mums who, when they go through the family courts, it's a whole package of information and guidance, so that when they actually go to court, sort of do's and don'ts, and how to keep themselves, to present yourself so that you can get the best possible outcome. So we've done that, and we've just finished that program, and we're in the process of getting that accredited now. So that's really exciting.
Wow.
Um, and then we've also created another, from the back of that program, we've created another program which is going to be more of a condensed version for like businesses and agencies such as Kafkas. So that hopefully that will be an income stream for Mums in Need, so we'll be able to support more mums going forward, and keep the charity going.
Excellent. That sounds amazing. And I just love the fact that you're using people with lived experience, because I feel personally that it's just so important. If you're running a service like that, you need that expert advice, that lived experience advice, that you can't understand what somebody's gone through unless you've gone through that same situation or similar. And obviously everybody's situation's different, but a similar situation to another person. So I love the fact that you use people with lived experience. So let's go back to you've gone through the courts. What was the next thing after that?
After finishing in the family course, a
Yeah.
very a very big sigh of relief. Yeah, there was lots of court proceedings. I think the final court proceedings finished 2015, 2016, so it was quite a while ago now. But I never knew whether or not it was going to go back, and it was almost like a hope and a prayer after it had finished that oh, we've managed to stay out of court for 6 months, we've managed to stay out of court for a year, and then of course now my son is 16, the court order is no longer valid, so it's up to my son whether he makes his own arrangements with his father, and I don't have to get involved at all, and that's absolutely
Right.
brilliant. It's made such a difference to my life because I don't feel sort of emotionally trapped in a kind of metaphorical prison anymore, because it's not, I can't what's the word, I can't get into trouble for, if he's ill or doesn't want to go. I can't now be, there'd be no comeback on me
Yeah.
because he can make his own choices. So that's a real relief getting to the child to 16 and not having that order in place anymore.
Yeah, sure. I can completely understand that. So 2015 was the you finished court, is that right? 2015. What was next? Tell me about how you then decided to set up Mums in Need, I presume.
Well, I'd actually already started to set up Moms in Need
Okay.
in that point, which was really, really difficult for me because obviously when I first set it up, I built the website in 2013, and I actually started an online support group from 2014 through to 2016. At the time, that was like a national group because it was, I was able to come back from doing my shifts, on the nursing shifts in the dementia unit, coming back, getting online, and then going to work. And that was kind of my cycle for a couple of years. So I did that then. But at that point, we weren't a registered charity. I'd registered with the tax office as a unregistered charitable organisation, a community group, and then at that point we were given a gift aid number, so I was able to start fundraising and getting sort of charity tins out there and things like that, and doing like lots of Facebook sales to try and raise funds to kind of get started, and things like that. I didn't actually know at that point that we were going to be necessarily a registered charity, because it was all a new thing. My background is nursing, so I'm very good at helping people and caring for people and supporting people and helping them to become independent. But I've obviously never run a charity before, so it was quite a big change, and I've just sort of learned sort of along the way, really, as it's grown. So in 2016. I had a bit of a break and stopped the online support. I think it was a combination of things that were happening at that time, but I know that obviously I was in that last year, 15, 16, I was going through my own court case as well. So I found it all quite difficult at the time because it was all very, very raw and happening, and sort of
Oh,
mirroring some of the situations that were happening with the women that I was supporting. So I had a break then, and then I actually received an email from a sort of I suppose a sort of mentor at the time, and he said, "Hey Laura, have you found out about this free office space for charitable groups?" And I was like, "Oh no!" And I jumped on the reply, contacted them, went and had a look round, and managed to get our first temporary office space in this really big sort of business park, up near Meadowhall in sort of other side of Sheffield. So that was brilliant, because then from that on we had this really big space. It's like, oh, what am I going to do with all this space?
wow.
So we started with a little charity shop. I managed to get some secondhand like desks and computers, and got people to donate a few bits and pieces. And then from then on, that's when we actually started to get a small team of volunteers together. And then I started to sort of support the women on in the centre, and then we got a little bit of funding, and I was able to get a paid volunteers coordinators post, which was our first sort of post that we got. So that was somebody else other than me.
Amazing.
And then got a couple of slowly began to build up a casework team, a freelance casework team, and so we just evolved from there. And then we've moved so many times in that period, because of course if you haven't got the funds for your own premises, you basically rely on businesses to give you freebies to support you. So they'll give you a space whilst it helps them, I think, quite often. If you put a charity in a place, it really helps them to show that they're being very charitable, but also I think there's a bit of a tax relief that they can get if they put charities in there.
Okay.
So that's a really brilliant thing for them and for the charity. So we just kept moving around like that for the last few, so since 2016 through to now, we've kept on moving around. I'm really pleased to say that the place that we're in now, again up kind of the same similar sort of area, we've been there for nearly a couple of years now, and there isn't any sort of talk about us moving on anytime soon. So I think that this is probably the most stable we've been in terms of having our own space. So yeah, it's absolutely incredible not having to worry about having somewhere, a base to work from, because there's so many other things that you have to juggle. Finding funds for a start, keeping the services going, maintaining your staff. So if you don't have to worry about where your base is, that's just one less thing to worry about.
Oh, sure. So how many are in your staff team now?
So with me, there's 6 of us, part-time, or all part-time. I became part-time after realizing that I just needed not to be doing 60, 70 hours a week. I needed to have a more of a a normal lifestyle. So yeah, so we're all part-time, and it works really well. So I've got 2 caseworkers, one social media lead person, one administrator, and a finance lead who does all the bookkeeping and helps with the grants and stuff, and me, who does a little bit of everything. And then I have a board of trustees. We've just recruited and inducted 5 new trustees. We've now got a board of 9 trustees, which is
Wow.
amazing, most we've ever had.
Wow.
And a small team, six volunteers we've got on our books as well. So yeah.
That's incredible. All the things. And I love the fact that a lot of the guests that have come on, they've just become so resilient, but then gone on to turn their lives around and just do or give back to the people that need it the most. And I love that. So
It's
where
been like
are
the
we?
best therapy ever, to be honest, throwing myself into a project like this. I can't think of anything else really I'd rather do. And I feel really privileged to be in this situation where I'm able to do what I really love doing. This is the path I've chosen, and I think it's really brilliant. I'm really, really happy doing what I do.
Yeah, and I think that's what drives us, isn't it? That passion to then go on and support and help others. I mean, that's the reason I wrote and published my book in 2021. So just for anybody that is watching, so it's Fix Your Future. And this is the reason really why I do Heal with the Real. In the back of the book, I wrote all the things that helped me to move through, but then go on to do now what I do, because you just feel so passionate about being able to help other women that have been through, or even not even women, because it's men as well. It's not just women, but men as well, that may have been victims of coercion. So what's next for Mums in Need?
Well, all funding dependent, but the next plan is to get 2 more members of staff. So I need a casework coordinator, and I need an operations manager, which will free me up even more to be able to go out there, present the charity, get some more corporate partners, and sort of be less operational really. So that's the plan for next year, the beginning of next year, funding dependent. We are trying really hard. We've got loads and loads of fundraising opportunities that we do, and we obviously put in a lot of grants. So we're very hopeful that we're going to be successful in those. And the more longer term plan is, so if we get these positions, it means that hopefully our waiting list will reduce, because we do have 50 women on our waiting list at the moment. So we've got a wait. So the list, so that's on average about 6 months wait, which
Wow.
is not ideal. And obviously the women that we're supporting at the moment is only Sheffield and South Yorkshire. But the plan further down the line is to have, we're working on the vision for the organisation at the moment, but the plan is to have expand to the whole of Yorkshire, and then have a hub down in Sussex, because that's where I'm originally from. So
Okay.
if I did move down there, if it had been the other way around and I hadn't moved to Sheffield and I moved down there, then I would have done it the other way around. So and then once we've done that, that's going to take us to 2029 by the time I've managed to make the charity become a national charity. And then I will feel then like I've done what I set out to do. And that is the point where I will be looking to potentially step down as CEO and have some new, young, passionate person like me to take it to the next level. I absolutely, like I was saying, I absolutely love what I do, and it's I'm so passionate about it. And I know when the time comes, I may find it a little bit difficult to step back, but I think that for my own mental health, I think it's really important, because I set up the charity, but the charity isn't me. It's a service for women, and it's the whole time I'm kind of there at the front. It's like, oh, it's Laura's charity. Well, but it's not. It's the charity is there for the people. I just happen to be the happen to be the founder, and I won't be around forever. And I want Mums in Need to still be here in like 200, 300, 400 years. So I think if I can set the scene and the plan, the vision for the future, and leave it in a place where I know that it can be picked up, because essentially all the foundations have been put in place. It's just a question of building on that and scaling the model further. So yeah, that's the plan. That's the plan.
Wow, that's a huge, massive plan, but an amazing one, because I guess those 50 people that are on that wait list, for the 6-month wait list, it's important. There's two women, 2 men per week that get murdered by their partners through domestic abuse cases. And who knows that 6-month wait could be 6-month wait too long for that particular person. So we do need to get those waiting lists down, don't we, and get the help that out there. So it's just incredible what you do to help and do your part, and you talked about it's your healing place doing what you're doing. Was there anything else that you use on a daily basis?
So healing, yeah. Well, as I was mentioning earlier, that in at the beginning of the year, so at the back end of last year, I was finding myself in a situation where I was sort of struggling. I think I was just feeling so overwhelmed and so tired, and I wasn't perhaps making the best decisions all the time. And obviously, when you're in a position like I am, you want to make sure that the service is run as best as it can be, and that you're in the right place. So I made the decision, after having a couple of meltdowns in the office, and my team was so lovely, I decided that I needed to work on myself, in the sense of not just being like a robot, but actually finding out what I like to do and what's important to me, and making myself more physically and mentally fit and strong. So I've been doing, since January, I've been working with a personal trainer, and I've been doing weight programs. I've been doing running, cycling, walking, and making much more healthy eating choices, and sort of watching what I eat now. And it's so not that I don't think there was any kind of issue with it. It's just I never put any thought into anything that I did. I was just like do. And I think that comes back from the time of working on the wards, nursing, when you're doing you're doing 12-hour shifts. You don't know what time of day it is, where it is. You're so busy, you're skipping meals and all sorts of things. So I think I've always been on that kind of boom 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 cycle. So I have sort of had time to reflect and think, right, what is going to be the best outcome for the organization, but also what's going to be the best outcome for me as an individual. And I can tell you the difference, like in me from a year ago to now, is incredible. I just feel so much more in control, so much happier. And also I think about things more like, do I actually really want to do this thing? Say somebody asked me, do you want to do this thing? I've learned how to say no if I don't want to do something. And I think that's really important, when you've been in a abusive relationship, because you kind of almost like your body's kind of programmed to just respond to whatever's happening. And you're always saying yes because you're worried about what will happen if you say no. Whereas now I'm not in that place anymore. And I think that's come through slowing down and actually getting to know myself, and spending time with kind and nurturing people, and kind of avoiding the sort of situations that are perhaps not going to be very good for your health.
Yeah. Wow. So I mean, some of the things that you describe, I had to think, in the back of my book, I get up every morning, I do exercise. It's one of the first things that I have to do. And I think it's just so important to fill yourself up first, because you can't, like you say, you can't go into that office and then support the mums that you need to within your organization or the staff team if you're not pumping on all cylinders, I guess. So you need to fill yourself up first. And for me, exercise was one of the main things. I now get up every day and just do it automatically. It's just the first thing I do. Meditation really helps me just to slow down as well, just to have that 15 minutes on a morning before I even get out of bed. I'll just have a 15 minutes to think about, right, what's going to be happening for the day ahead?
Yeah.
What are my goals? What am I manifesting? What am I thinking about? And I'll just have that quiet time, because often 80% of the time you're in your own head, aren't you? And it's, oh, what am I doing next? What am I, and like you said, you're going 90 miles per hour. And I guess for you've been going 90 miles an hour since 2013, since you've been setting up your website. To me, it sounds like you deserve that rest. You deserve that time for you. So I'm really pleased that you are doing that now, and that you're giving yourself that grace that you probably needed. And you've just come off a lovely holiday.
I have,
You're
yeah.
refreshed.
So,
So
yeah.
that's nice.
Holidays are also very important, aren't they? And I think that was something, actually, like one of my sort of contacts from another charity. She now says to me, have you booked up, when's your next holiday, Laura? As soon as I come back from one. And she's really pleased, because I can say to her, I've already got the next one planned. And she's like, that's amazing, because I've gone from not booking any holidays and thinking, oh, I can't leave. But it's so important, like you say, to have these breaks, because it gives you time to reflect, and it also makes you realize that there is another life out there, that you have got your own life as well as your work. And I think that's really, really important, isn't it, to be able to get that balance.
Yeah. And I think when you're working all those hours, I think, like you say, you are then beginning to make mistakes in your business. And it's just going out, even taking yourself away from whatever situation for a walk, 15-minute walk, just getting out in nature for a bit, just giving yourself that time. Because I know for me, I'll sit there and I'll be trying to do something, and it'll just get worse. It won't get any better the more that I try to do it. So I just say, no, pen down, get myself off, get myself out for 10 minutes, and then come back and have that breather.
So true. Yeah, like even tea breaks, peppermint tea breaks or tea breaks, even getting up and going to the loo and things like that. Like sometimes if you're so busy and you think you've got to do something, because you could find yourself sitting in your chair for hours on end, and that is not good. So yeah, like you, walking, I've started to put in, I try and do 3 little walks just around the block every day. And that is definitely, yeah, it gets you moving, doesn't it?
Yeah. And also, actually, you become more productive, because when you're walking, you're thinking of the things that you could do. And sometimes you get a mental block, don't you, when you just sat in your chair for constantly thinking, right, what do I do next? But yeah, taking yourself out, and then you think, oh yeah, I'll do that when I get back. And like you say, you're feeling refreshed. So
Absolutely.
you do it. So you're doing your workouts, you're doing your walks. Was there anything else in particular that you used in your daily life to help,
Uh, uh,
that
uh,
listeners may find useful?
like you, actually, you were saying about meditation. There was a period of time where I used to I wasn't diagnosed or anything, but obviously I know what anxiety is through my training and dealing with very anxious people. And I did find myself getting into a place where I was feeling really anxious and kind of not actually being able to catch my breath properly, and that scared me, actually, quite a bit. So I'd find myself, right, just get up, and I'd get the app out on my phone, and I'd just do very basic breathing exercises, and that really, really helped. And I know that that's my go-to if ever I get into that state, which I have to say, touch wood, since doing all this exercise, I haven't been in that state. But I know that that's something that really, really does help, just to get yourself back on track and slow yourself down. You just need to have a few minutes of just the most basic things, of just focusing, even if it's you're visualizing or focusing on a particular object, and just taking a few basic breaths until you're able to get your breath back into a normal rhythm again. I found that, and no, I'd recommend that to anybody who's kind of feeling really um anxious and overwhelmed. And the other thing is, grounding techniques are really good as well. If you've got any particular major thing coming up and you kind of it's kind of starting to take over, just really simple, sit on your chair, put your feet on the floor, and just feel your body through the chair. That those really simple things really helped me. So yeah, I think for anybody listening, those I would recommend those to anyone um who may be sort of struggling with feeling overwhelmed and very anxious, or breathing issues. I found that really helpful. So I think it just, you use different things in your tool bag according to where you are at that time, but that was something that really helped me. And as I say, if that ever happened to me again, I'd go back to those tools that I remembered and do them to get me through those moments.
Yeah, and I think breath work is so important, because it just, when you can feel that heart rate pulsing really fast, I think just having, like you say, that time just to do that deep breathing is really important. And if you're feeling fearful about things, I know that, you know, lots of times you can be triggered at the slightest little thing, and you know, and maybe writing down what it is that's triggering you in that particular moment, and
Mm.
then understanding and feeling that emotion, I think, because often we shut them down, or we're told to shut them away and not feel our emotions. Oh, you know, you'll be all right. Oh, you'll be all right, you know, that kind of thing. But actually, no, feeling what's coming up for you at that particular moment and understanding it. And for me, writing was a massive thing, you know, just getting it out on paper. I call it a
Yeah.
page dump.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
getting it all out of my head and just, yeah, onto paper, and understanding.
Yeah, that I think the other thing as well, which can be quite useful if you're in that situation, is just physically removing yourself from where, if you're in a situation where you're feeling very anxious, or you're a busy place, just taking 5 minutes to just go to the toilet, or just go for a little walk, just to get out of that, change environments for that period, just to reset your mind, is also really quite helpful.
Sure, sure. Well, do you want to just tell me your website for the listeners, and a little bit of where we can find you, Laura, for anyone that may be needing support? What area are you in?
So with Sheffield and the South Yorkshire area, that was obviously our plan, as to say, is to become a national charity. So our website is www.mumsinneed.com, and we have got a LinkedIn, a Facebook, a Twitter, a YouTube channel. We've got TikTok, but we've only got a couple of videos on this, so that's not one that we're focused on, but we've got the others. So yeah, if anybody's watching this video can follow any of all of our platforms, that would be amazing. We've also got a newsletter, a monthly newsletter that comes out, which gives you an update of everything that we're doing, or what things are coming up, what opportunities we have. So yeah, so I would encourage anybody to sign up to that.
Great. And if somebody is going through the court process and just needing that help, is there a contact number that people can get hold of, or how does that
Yeah,
work?
so we do have an 0800 number, which we do have somebody that's in between the hours of 9 and 3 every day will be responded to. If you do contact outside of those hours, it will go to the voicemail, and it will get picked up when the staff are back in the office. So so I've just got a blank. But yeah, so we've got the 0800 helpline. In terms of being able to offer sort of advice and support, this was one of the things that I was talking to you about earlier, when I said I wanted to get the casework coordinator role in place. But unfortunately, we were just rejected from this big grant from Lloyd's, which would have enabled us to have got that person, so would have been able to deal with all of these queries and help the people that are either on the waiting list or wanting support in the future. But because we are so tight on we haven't got enough resource, and we haven't got enough staff, we're very limited. And obviously, if somebody calls, the staff will do their best to respond to any queries that they can, but we don't have that dedicated person that's able to go through all of the all of their needs at that point, just because we're so small and we don't have that you know, the capacity. But there are lots of other organisations out there that are significantly bit bigger than us that have got more resources. You've got Women's Aid, you've got IDAS, you've lots of other national charities. So, you know, the helplines, domestic abuse for our helpline. So I would call those if you need anything more immediate. But obviously, you very welcome to call us. But in 6 months' time, I'm sure we'll be in a different place, and we will have that person available, and we'll be able to, you know, it's just so upsetting that we didn't get that fund. But you know, we'll try again next year. But yeah, so we have got, you know, there's an 0800 number there, and anybody's free to call that number at any point, and somebody will always get back to you if you leave a contact number. So yeah. But in terms of, as I say, a lot of in-depth sort of support and how to deal with this particular, we just don't have the resources. But it's coming in the future.
Yes,
The
we'll
more
manifest it. We'll get manifesting.
Yeah.
We need the money, you know.
That's it.
With the cuts and everything, we need more money for important organizations that are vital, you know, like yours. So you know, things need to change. Well, there's still a lot of work to be done. We know that, don't we? But thank you so much for doing what you're doing with Mums in Need, and thank you for being a guest on Heal with a Reel. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. Is there any last words that you want to say before we close?
I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me, Amanda. It's been really lovely. I've really enjoyed being a guest today, and thank you to everybody that's watched this.
And go and support Mums in Need. You know, is there anywhere that, is it Just Giving or something like that on your page? Any people can support you?
Yeah, so on our website, we've got at the moment, the biggest thing we've got is a 2023 fundraiser. So we're trying to raise £2,023 for 2023, and there's 6 of us doing it at the moment. So you can go to the website, and it will come up on the website. There's a tab that says 2023 fundraiser. You can click on that, and there's like you said, it's a Just Giving page, and you'll see little videos of me doing my weights and various things, and other staff team members too. So if you are able to support us in any way to try and meet that target, that would be fantastic. So yeah, and they say following the social media posts and getting more people to know about us. The more people that know about us, the more likely we're to get more funds, the more likely we'll be able to help more women and become more national quicker. So please help.
Incredible. Go and follow, go and support. You know, there's lots of people out there that need support like yours. Thank you so much, Laura. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Take care. Bye now.
Bye-bye.